What is up, guys? Just a quick little intro for this video. Originally I wanted to do one Q&A video for my 4,000 subscriber special, but this video is going to be a lot longer than I thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into two parts. This portion that you're seeing right now is just the Killer Flicks portion. I posted an announcement on Killer Flicks saying, hey, if you guys wanted to ask some questions too, go ahead. And they asked quite a few questions. So once I got done filming, I actually have like almost 13 minutes of footage. And to make this one a little extra special, I actually went out to a site that I went to before, an abandoned drive-in movie theater here in town, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So what you're gonna see in the video is not me here in the Drumdums studio. You're gonna see actually me out in front of the concession stand of an abandoned drive-in movie theater. So anyway, guys, here is part one of the Q&A. Part two will include all the YouTube questions, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, if you want to become a member of Killer Flicks, just jump right on over to our Facebook page. So anyway, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Drumdums 4,000 subscriber question and answer. Let's do this. All right, what's up, guys? It's time for my question and answer, and I wanted to do something a little special. When I do my Q&As, I like to do them in different locations. So right behind me is the concession stand of a drive-in movie theater, or an abandoned drive-in movie theater that I visited about a year and a half ago. So I've been wanting to use this setting as a background for the longest time, and so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use it for part of this, and then we'll go back to the Drumdums Evil Lair for probably the second half of this thing. But this is my first Q&A with Killer Flicks, my Killer Flicks group. So I figured, hey, I'll start it out with Killer Flicks. I posted this morning some questions, and I got quite a few questions. So let's get it started. Here we go. Okay, first question is from Robbie Snowball, and he wants to know, what horror movie remakes ended up better than the original? Definitely Last House on the Left. I like that one quite a bit. The first one is not as easily accessible as the remake. The remake is just a damn good movie. His next question is, who are your favorite horror directors? And John Carpenter, of course, but if I'm talking about today, probably Fede Alvarez, David Robert Mitchell for It Follows. I'm really curious to see what he puts out next. Okay, next question is from Jason Hamilton, and he wants to know if I think they'll ever release a Slipknot set of Funkos. As you guys know, I love metal music, and I would love to have Slipknot Funkos. That would be freaking awesome. I think they have Kiss Funkos, but I like bands that have, you know, a really distinct visual style, and Slipknot's one of those bands. I actually saw them in concert back in 2015. But yeah, good question. Next question is from Romero Tea Tour, and he wants to know what is my favorite horror remake of all time, and that has got to be John Carpenter's The Thing. I think it is still to this day the best horror remake and set the bar for remakes, and that bar will probably never be reached. It is a masterpiece. Next question is from Lucas Ferreira. He wants to know what horror locations would you like to visit? I've actually visited a couple of the Halloween locations from the first movie in Pasadena, California. I actually had to go there back in, I believe, 2010. I'll throw some pictures up here so you can see them. Went there with my daughter, but that was really cool. But a few months ago, I did Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 Revisited, and I went to Covington, Georgia, and got a few of the locations there. Sheriff Brackett's house, a couple other things, but yeah, that was a blast. And he also wants to know what horror icons would I like to see matched up, you know, just like they did with Freddy and Jason. Myers and Pinhead would be interesting. It probably wouldn't be that good, but those two are just so evil that I would love to see what would happen on the screen with them. And his next question is there any topic I would like to see used in a horror movie? That's a tough one. I recently saw Split, and it dealt with child molestation, and I do appreciate horror movies that are brave enough to venture out of the norm and try different things, and that's a good example. Also, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake actually answered that question as far as, was Freddy, you know, a pedophile? Scott Bailey wants to know, what is my favorite desert island metal band? Well, I'm a massive Tool fan. Tool's my favorite band ever. But I mean, if it's like straight up heavy metal, Iron Maiden would be a good one, Queensryche, Ozzy. I mean, I love those classic metal bands, Dio. Those are all good. Black Sabbath is a great one. Okay, next question. Antoine Thomas, who I went to see Aliens with recently. He wants to know what my favorite snack is and what is my stance on salt versus sugar. And my favorite snack usually for the salty side is going to be nachos, and for the sugar side is going to be Bunch of Crunch, but I also like Reese's. And I'm kind of even with those. I have to have one and then the other. And I usually start out with the nachos, and then I ended up with the nice sweet chocolate of the Bunch of Crunch. It's getting cold and windy out here, guys, but the weather's awesome. Lee Debo Duckers wants to know what is my favorite scary movie. Scream! No, I'm just kidding. It's not Scream. It's actually Halloween. Next question is from Ricardo Rodriguez. I love this question. What do I think of 9 Inch Nails? I freaking love 9 Inch Nails. They're freaking awesome. And 9 Inch Nails, they use them in the Crow soundtrack. They've also they've done Joy Division covers in the past. If you look online, you can see a live cover of Atmosphere, which is epic. But I love 9 Inch Nails because they're so unique, they're so dark, and from album to album they try different things. That's another reason why I love Tool. They try different things from album to album. They try different things from album to album. But yeah, 9 Inch Nails, freaking awesome. Next question is from my good buddy Art from the A to Z show, and he has an awesome question actually. If someone did a biopic on you, who would you want to direct it, star in it, and what specific event in your life would you want them to cover? Oh man, so many events. Definitely my military career, I guess. There were some cool moments in there, but yo, Quetta, look out, Quetta, look out, yeah. What's your name? Mushakalim. Nami Bashir. Yeah. When I was like 12 years old, I was actually in a breakdancing group, and it's really embarrassing. And I think that would make for a really funny movie. And I would like a young Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi to direct. Yeah, that would be awesome. Next question is from my good buddy Amar Okanovic, who is from Ghost of April, and he wants to know what is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie, because we both just saw Split this weekend and we both love the hell out of it. I think it's Split. I really do. Split is so good, and that's a bold statement because M. Night Shyamalan, his first 3 movies are freaking excellent. But it's a tie between Split and maybe Unbreakable. Charles Lazuski asked me, what is my favorite scary moment in a non-horror film? That's a good question. You know, Goodfellas actually has that really brutal, realistic violence. And I remember when I first saw that, I was like, this is actually freakier than some horror movies. That's a great example. Gone Baby Gone is another example that had a scene that was pretty damn startling. Matt Vicari wants to know what are my thoughts on the Bond movies. I'm a casual fan. My father is actually a massive Bond fan, and I grew up with the Sean Connery James Bond movies. I think Daniel Craig is an awesome James Bond, but I'm not like a diehard fan, so I don't like rush out to the theater to see those movies. But usually when I do see them, I do get some enjoyment out of them. Maurice Boney wants to know where are today's martial artist action heroes, because we had Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee in the past and all those guys, but we really don't see that as much, or at least they don't break out in the mainstream. And I always thought Brandon Lee was a perfect example back in the day, even though he didn't want to be stuck in that role. He ended up doing The Crow. But honestly, I don't have an answer for that. Today, it's hard to pinpoint. I guess Donnie Yen is a perfect example, but he's not as big in the U.S. as he is in other countries. But he is a great example of somebody that I could totally see breaking out in America. He was awesome in Rogue One. Bradley Koch wants to know what is my favorite British film. Oh, there's so many good ones. I love the 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later series. The Descent is awesome. Snatch. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of great British films out there, actually. Trainspotting, anyone? Michael Hughes wants to know, what do I think is the most influential horror film? I mean, there are generations of horror movies that inspire the movies that follow, and Psycho, I think, is the granddaddy. And then you had Halloween, and Scream was another great example. So there seems to be these jumps in time of these pivotal horror movies that really just set the stage and just have all these copiers after. But yeah, Psycho would probably be the granddaddy of all. Okay, Chris Clark wants to know my all-time favorites for horror, comedy, action, drama, and sci-fi. Horror, gotta be Halloween. Action, Predator. Sci-fi, Alien. Comedy, Spies Like Us. And drama, Zodiac. Next question is from Dan Wolf. I actually have quite a few of this question. When and how did you decide to start a YouTube channel? And what did you do to make it happen? Really, I wanted to make a YouTube channel because I saw all these other, normal people like me, like yourself, talking about movies and doing it on video to other people on YouTube. And that was the first thing, because before that, I was scared to death of it. I always wanted to discuss film, but never thought I was brave enough to do it. After seeing that, I went out and I bought this camera right here that is looking at me right now. I've used this Canon T5i for the last 2 years now. And I bought some lights, and really that's what got me started. And also this lavalier mic here. Audio is more important than video, I think. And I'll just go ahead and jump onto that. If you're thinking about doing a YouTube channel, I say go ahead and start recording content, because it'll just make it easier for you. You don't have to publish it, but I published my first video, which in my mind is horrible. But I'm glad I did, because it forced me to make more videos. And I think when you put it out there in the world, it kind of forces you to, whereas if you don't put it out there in the world, then you're more likely to not put it out there in the world. So yeah, I just say do it. You're gonna get better. That is a guarantee, I promise. And lastly, be yourself. Find your niche. Do not be fake. Do not copy others. Your subscribers will pick up on it in a heartbeat. Does that mean don't study others and get ideas? No, of course not. I study other reviewers all the time, but I try to make my own stamp on my reviews. Andrea Subasati from the Batcave, she was in my last 31 days of October, and she wants to know how I find the time to have a family life and do YouTube. And that is a great question, because it is not easy. And the good thing is my job is only 4 days a week. So I have 3-day weekends, and I really schedule my time. If I want to record, sometimes I will batch record. I will do 2 or 3 videos at a time. And then sometimes I'm spontaneous with it. Also, my wife has her own hobbies going on. We are not the type of people that constantly need to be next to each other at all times. She is extremely supportive of what I do. I'm supportive of what she does. So that helps balance all that. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Andrea. Dylan Clancy wants to know what do I think of Ferris Bueller. I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's a classic. I love those John Hughes movies. Breakfast Club is one of my favorites, actually. Who is my favorite Game of Thrones character? Gotta be Tyrion. And his last question is, am I going to review his favorite horror film, Argento's Tenebrae? I have never seen any of Argento's films, including Suspiria, so that's definitely one on my radar, and I will definitely add Tenebrae on my radar as well. And next question is from Gary Lee, and he wants to know what was the first horror film that got me hooked on the genre. I have to say Friday the 13th Part 3. I was 10 years old, and really that was the first movie that just really petrified me. I couldn't really watch the whole thing because I was just scared to death. So I think that's what got me into the genre. I like being afraid, if that makes any sense. Even though I don't get afraid anymore, but I still like the reactions I get from good horror movies, and sometimes even bad horror movies. And he also wants to know what would I like to see adapted into a television series. I'm not a big fan of slasher movies being adapted into TV series, be it Halloween, Friday the 13th. I think Scream did it actually pretty well, which surprised me, so I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something that I'm begging for. Elijah Lynch, and he wants to know RoboCop versus Terminator. I would totally be down to watch that movie. I don't know who would win, but it would be freaking awesome. If I had to guess, probably gonna say Terminator. All right, so that's the last I'm gonna do from here. Starting to get cold, and we're gonna move it back to Drumdums' evil lair. But before I go, get a look at that freaking evil looking deserted building. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Okay guys, there are a couple more questions. I want to answer everything, and I got a few more questions, and there's one I skipped. So I want to get everybody. Dylan Whitmitz, he asked, what is your favorite kill in the Halloween franchise? Probably Brady kill from Halloween 4, just because of how visceral it looked and how simple it was, really. You could tell that they spent 50 cents on that scene. It's all lighting and emotion, and it works. So I love that kill. George Hernandez says, I have 48 movies ranked as Trapped on an Island in all my reviews. If you look at my Trapped on an Island playlist, 48 movies in there. Which one of those is my favorite out of all those? That's a tough one. I mean, technically Halloween, because Halloween is my favorite movie of all time. I even created a unicorn category for The Dark Knight when I did that review, but Halloween would definitely be a unicorn for me too. So I definitely say Halloween, The Thing, The Dark Knight, but Halloween #1. And Brandon Meacham, last question for Killer Flicks. He wants to know, what are some guilty pleasures for you? I had to think long and hard on this one because I don't really feel guilty about any of the movies I like. But as much hate as Batman v Superman got last year, I guess I could consider that a guilty pleasure because I love the hell out of it. It's actually one of my favorite movies of last year. And every time I watch it, I like it more. And I'll even go as far as saying that I like it more than pretty much all the Marvel movies. I know I'm gonna get some dislikes for that one, but I don't care. Okay guys, that wraps up part 1 of the Drumdums Q&A. Stay tuned real soon for part 2. Anyway, if you look down below, you can see all my social media links. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and Drumdum out.